Nnamdi Kanu is the leader of the independent people of Biafra, hip-hop, an organization or a body that is struggling for the independence of Igbo land to be excised from Nigeria and become an independent nation. The struggle has been on for about a decade, but IPOB, Independent People of Biafra, is not accepted by the entire Igbo people. And only God knows the actual percentage of Igbo people that embraces IPOB as representing the majority interest of the people. We don't know the percentage of Igbo people that embraces the organization and its struggle. But IPOB became very powerful, not to say too powerful, ordering sit at home in the entire Igbo land and actually behaving as government in power in Igbo land. But you could see resistance and protests also against the body in Igbo land. Among the people the organization is purporting to represent, so at some point IPOB was appearing to become hostile, with particular reference to some people from the north and things like that, really becoming like a terrorist organization. And some Igbo people have lost their lives in the attempt by the IPOB to impose its orders on the people, including sit-at-home days imposed on the people. At one point, I wrote an open letter to IPOB with particular reference to Nnamdi Kanu, advising him to listen to the Igbo people, because you cannot be representing a people that don't recognize you or elect you or choose you to represent them. And you could see that Nnamdi Kanu really feels like somebody in power as the Igbo leader, chief commander of the armed forces of Igbo people, something of that nature. just like Nigeria's president, chief commander of Nigeria's armed forces. That is the type of status assumed by Nnamdi Kanu. You could see some arrogance in him. So I wrote a letter, an open letter to him, saying that he should listen to Igbo people, so that he will not be fighting for a people that don't recognize him. Certainly some Igbo people appreciate what he's doing and recognize him as an Igbo leader, or even as the Igbo leader, even when it cannot be ascertained that majority of Igbo people are behind him. That was my concern in that letter. I even said Nigeria's rulers were persecuting IPOB in the same way that they have been persecuting the Boko Haram Muslim community. Yeah, because the community did not do anything criminal other than the Fulani Muslim imperialists saying that the Islam of the community is unorthodox, which is not a crime against Nigeria. If at all it's a crime against the Quran and Islam. But a community opposing abuse of Western education to perpetrate haram, otherwise expressed as Boko Haram, cannot be a criminal organization. Until tomorrow, I'm happy for President Olusegun for the former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who refused to take up arms against the community. And up till now, the former President Olusegun Obasanjo is not convinced that arms should be taken up against the community. But I immediately got reply that, no, we are not like Boko Haram, this and that. Yeah, because people don't recognize what is happening to the Boko Haram Muslim community as state terrorism against the community, which led to the community taking up arms to fight back, taking to terrorism to fight back, which is the only way a small community of that nature could fight back. And severally wanted peace with Nigeria, but the rulers of the land said no. Since 2009 till 2025, fighting his community, a Muslim community. At any rate, the human rights activists, publisher of the Sahara reports, and politician Ọmọyẹle Ṣoworẹ, I think is not sensitive enough to the issues. Yes, I myself am concerned with the incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu. Notwithstanding that he is being treated as a fugitive, somebody who jumped bail and was captured in Kenya after some years of being a fugitive, rightly or wrongly, let me say. But protesting, I heard this from some protesting Igbo people against freedom for Nnamdi Kanu, calling him a fugitive who is responsible for the death of their own heroes. Forget that the heroes may be girls or boys of their beloved ones. Let's put it that way. That Nnamdi Kanu and his hip hop is responsible for the death of their own beloved persons. I think the hip hop is also responsible for the so-called Eastern Security Network, ESN, sometimes engaging in a shootout with government security forces and losing some youth, Igbo youth, to the battle. Things like that. So, I see, rightly or wrongly, some arrogance in Nnamdi Kanu. Already behave as if president of the Igbo people, chief commander of the armed forces of Igbo land. That status can be seen in him. Like when he told a lawyer, "You don't talk when I'm talking." That type of attitude and approach to life. So psychologically, the guy is, I don't know. So I ask myself, I believe that Nigeria rulers should have restructured, for instance, because it's not only Igbo land that is clamoring for secession at this point. Yoruba nation agitators are there. And there are non-Yoruba, non-Igbo people also clamoring for restructuring, for justice and equity. Look at what is happening in Benue State, in Plateau State, and some other places. As if a form of ethnic cleansing were taking place. And the whole idea of declaring IPOB as a terrorist organization, but not the Fulani herdsmen terrorists, ravaging agrarian communities throughout Nigeria, empowered with AK-47, that is an illegality for other people. So things like this. So that whatever anybody may say about Nnamdi Kanu, misrule of Nigeria is an undeniable fact. In the perpetuation of war against the Boko Haram Muslim community for no just cause, in the perpetuation of herdsmen terrorism, started under the presidency of Muhammadu Buhari, as a patron of the herdsmen terrorists since a long time ago, at least since the 1980s, when he became dethroned as a military head of state. So, but Ọmọyẹle Ṣoworẹ's protest for the freedom of Nnamdi Kanu cannot be said to be bad intentioned, but at the same time, sensitivity to the needs of the majority Igbo people, who definitely don't want another civil war. Because I don't know how old Nnamdi Kanu was, 1967 to 1970. I don't know how old he was. 1975, 1967, I was in primary 5. I don't know where Nnamdi Kanu was, how old he was that time. So, and he's not listening to Igbo leaders of thought has always been of serious concern to me. And the way some Igbo youths have been wasted in confrontation with Nigeria's armed forces. All this is leaving a bad taste in the mouth when you think of IPOP. But Nigeria's rulers are definitely misruling the land, Islamizing, Christianizing, and messing up our lives politically and economically. That's the situation. To the extent of removing subsidies from basic necessities of life to fund pilgrimages for privileged Christians and Muslims. It's as bad as that. But too many Nigerians are blind to it by Islam and Christianity. Two foreign religions brought here to recreate us into what we have become. People more concerned about religion and about God than about God himself. Unfortunately, Nnamdi Kanu himself is a Judaic rabbi, a priest of Judaism, who should he become the de facto Igbo leader, we want to impose Judaism on Igbo land. You can see him all over him in his body language and approach to life. So Nnamdi Kanu, I think he needs some psychological help to think himself out, to be able to think himself out of being Igbo leader. That he is not. Because to be Igbo leader, you must be chosen. The president of Ohanaeze Ndigbo, if he's addressed as Igbo leader, well, at least he has a level of recognition that Nnamdi Kanu does not enjoy. To what extent was he even in the good book of Ohanaeze Ndigbo? So you cannot be acting on behalf of a people who don't recognize you. The Igbo people are all over Nigeria now, in our universities, colleges of education, polytechnics, and other institutions, where they head or work. And one Nnamdi Kanu will now take them back to Igbo land to be doing what? All of that have to be settled. And those are part of the things I was saying. To no avail. Am I the only one saying it? What about all the Igbo leaders of thought talking to Nnamdi Kanu? Has he ever been ready to listen to anybody? He's full of himself, full of power. That's all. It's unfortunate, of course, that we don't have good leaders. Tinubu came. He used to sing the slogan of true federalism. After he attained power as a chieftain of the ruling party, he stopped singing the song and now has been president since more than 2 years, sustaining both the war against the Boko Haram Muslim community, S-men terrorism, and imposing fuel subsidy and all other subsidies are gone on Nigeria, worsening the economic situation and so the insecurities, mushrooming armed bandits, mushrooming armed robbers, even terrorist organizations. Yes, because the situation is conducive to terrorism, to armed banditries, armed robbery, and the security forces are continually endangered. Yes. So Nigeria is being stripped of strong security forces left behind by Olusegun Obasanjo. Since the imposition of the war against the Boko Haram Muslim community and all other degenerations have been falling in line.